Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome to another episode of Mingles with Jingles. Before we get started, public service announcement time. This is something that it turns out I do apparently need to remind everybody of quite regularly because it's not going away. If you leave a comment on one of my videos and then you check back later to see whether or not I've replied, and there is a reply and it looks like it might be from me, if you maybe squint a bit, look at it out of the corner of your eye, asking you to get in touch to discuss some kind of exclusive offer on some dodgy instant messaging service called Telegram. And if you can contain your excitement for a second and cast your eye further down the list of comments on that video, you'll quickly realise that whatever exclusive offer is under discussion isn't quite as exclusive as it may first appear, since virtually everybody is getting this reply to their comments. Rest assured, this is not me, it is some kind of scam. Do not reply or engage with this person. They're trying to rob you of your money in some way. There's very little I can do about this other than warn you about it and try to raise awareness, because as fast as I report and ban these accounts, they just keep creating new ones and they're back every day. Even if you're not sure whether or not it is actually me, rest assured I will never ask any of you to get in touch with me over some dodgy private messaging service. If I want to speak to anybody, I can just leave a reply on any of your video comments. There is no reason whatsoever for you to use any kind of dodgy third-party messenger service to get in touch with me, or for me to get in touch with you. It's a scam. Do not fall for it. If you're feeling a little embarrassed, by the way, that you might have fallen for this, or at least thought that it might actually be me, don't worry about it. You're in extremely good company, because YouTube fall for it every day as well. You'd think that an obvious pattern like this might be setting off red flags with YouTube's algorithm, but no, these things keep coming back every day, and their comments keep appearing, and they never get flagged as suspicious because, biggest tech company in the world, utterly crap. So don't be embarrassed. I mean, if it's good enough to fool YouTube, and it is, it's good enough to fool you too. Anyway, public service announcement done. Moving on. So, it was my birthday yesterday. Thank you to everybody who wished me a happy birthday. I do, of course, share the same date of birth as other famous people like Chuck Norris and Osama bin Laden. I hit level 54 yesterday, Sunday, March the 10th. Another 4 levels and I can go to Outland. 2 levels after that, I can get my flying mount. Those World of Warcraft references, English is hard, that probably went right over the heads of at least 50% of the people watching or listening to this video. So I'll quit with the crappy World of Warcraft references and we'll move on swiftly. I didn't actually do anything for my birthday. Honestly, you kind of stop celebrating after you hit 40. I had a quiet day, although today I'm going to go and see the new Dune movie, so there's that. Certainly didn't have a birthday cake or anything because, medical update time. And don't worry, I don't plan on doing this in every episode of Mingles with Jingles, only if there's something to actually say. And this week there is. And if you don't want to hear about my medical issues, then just have a look at the timestamps and you can skip to when things start getting interesting. But sugar is now poison for me, so that's a real bummer. So it's been confirmed I have type 2 diabetes, which actually isn't that bad. It could be a lot worse. It's not like I have to inject insulin every day, but my body is producing less insulin and it's becoming resistant to it. So it's just a matter of some light medication and some healthy lifestyle changes, which is all going to be good in the long term. I just have to cut down on sugar and carbohydrates. I'm really not, I thought it would be terrible, but I'm really not missing the sugar, and it's amazing how quickly your body can adapt. I mean, just 2 weeks ago, if you told me I couldn't drink Coke again, well, 2 weeks ago they did tell me I couldn't drink Coke again, and I thought my life was over, but after cutting down or eliminating it entirely, I still have some Coke in the fridge, and every now and then I'd think, I'll just treat myself to one. But lately, it's horrible. It's just too sweet and sugary. I can't drink it anymore. That's how quickly your body adapts. But I'm making these lifestyle changes and I'm on medication. The thing is, we won't actually be able to see any results or changes or improvements, because apparently when they take the blood test and they test it for diabetes, what they're looking at is your red blood cells. And red blood cells live for 3 months. This is something I didn't know until I spoke to the diabetes nurse, who was fantastic, by the way. She was really, really good. So there's no point in taking another blood test within 3 months, because you need to wait for the existing red blood cells to die off and be replaced by ones that aren't loaded up with sugar in order to get any kind of meaningful test result. So 3 months and I'll know whether or not... I mean, I am expecting the changes that I've made to have a positive result. There's no reason why they wouldn't. Unless, of course, the cancer gets me first. Because, of course, that's the other thing. Now, there's no further news on that. I'm still waiting for a date for the colonoscopy. I was getting a bit concerned. I mean, the hospital have written to me to let me know that they're going to write to me when they have a date for the colonoscopy. So, okay, fine. But in the meantime, I have had other news, not from the doctors in this case, but from my mother. Yeah, and it's not great news either. See, I knew that my grandfather, on my mother's side, died of cancer when my mother was 14 years old, but I didn't know what kind of cancer it was. It was bowel cancer. It also turns out that my mother's brother, my Uncle Ronnie, got bowel cancer when he was in his 70s, but he survived. It also turns out there's this thing called Lynch syndrome, and I'd never heard of it, but I know what it is now, and it's a genetic predisposition to develop bowel cancer or pancreatic cancer, basically gut-related cancers. If you have this Lynch syndrome, it's extremely likely that you may end up developing cancer of the bowel at some point. Now, I don't know whether or not my grandfather had it. I don't know whether or not my Uncle Ronnie had it. But I do know that 2 of Ronnie's children have it, and 2 of their children have it. And my cousin Lynn, again, on my mother's side of the family, also has Lynch syndrome. So that's 2 members of the family that we know, and these, by the way, only the ones who've been tested for it, but 2 members of the family that we know had bowel cancer, and at least another 5 members of the family that definitely have Lynch syndrome, which means there's an increased chance that they're going to get bowel cancer. I think there's an excellent chance I probably do have bowel cancer. So, colonoscopy, please. Quick. So that's the good news over and done with. Anyway, moving on. So if you're one of the guys who took advantage of the timestamps and you skipped ahead to avoid all the medical stuff, welcome back. Don't worry, you didn't miss much. Anyway, some good news. Command & Conquer. Everybody remembers Command & Conquer, right? I mean, at one point they were the undisputed kings of the real-time strategy genre, but there hasn't been a new Command & Conquer game in at least a decade. However, Electronic Arts have just slashed the prices of basically all of the Command & Conquer titles, and there are a lot of them on Steam. In most cases, you can actually get a copy of an individual game for $2 or less. But you can also buy game bundles that include all of them, like 12 Command & Conquer titles, including, in my opinion, the best, Command & Conquer Generals, for $10 or less. Some of the games suck, right? There was definitely a peak in content quality about halfway through, but there are some absolutely great games on there. And I don't know why Electronic Arts are being so generous. Maybe after firing 5% of their workforce, they feel like they need to make up for it, but I'm certainly not going to question it. In other news of price-slashing goodness, does anybody remember when Crystal Dynamics took over developing the Tomb Raider games right after Eidos basically dropped the ball with Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness and single-handedly almost completely destroyed the franchise? Crystal Dynamics kicked off with a trilogy of really good Tomb Raider games. And arguably the best of the 3, Tomb Raider Underworld, is now available on Good Old Games for $1. That's an 87% price reduction. It's now cheaper than a can of Coke. It was also the game in the series where they introduced a brand new graphics engine, and it's an old game, but it still looks good today. And you can get it on Good Old Games for $1. So yeah, that's a bit of a bargain. While we're on the subject, again, Good Old Games related. Now, I did miss this one, and unfortunately the offer is no longer available. But if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, last month you were able to pick up a copy of Fallout 1 Yep, the original and arguably best game in the Fallout series. You were able to pick up a copy of it on Good Old Games with an Amazon Prime subscription for nothing. So why am I telling you about this if you can't get it anymore? Well, this month, if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you can get a free copy of Fallout 2 on Good Old Games for absolutely nothing. Don't forget, if you do have Amazon Prime, you also have Twitch Prime, as well as a free subscription to the Twitch channel of your choice every month. It also, well, there's an awful lot of stuff that they give away on Twitch Prime too, although usually it's just DLC and add-ons and knickknacks for things like Battlefield and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, but there's usually a couple of free games every month on Twitch Prime as well. While we're on the subject, and I know I keep doing these segues, but these things are actually all related. I suspect that the reason why we're suddenly seeing Amazon and Twitch in particular giving away all of these Fallout related goodies is, well, it might have something to do with the imminent release of the Fallout TV show on Amazon. It comes out on April the 11th. I am cautiously optimistic. I mean, I've watched the trailers and they look okay, but I've been fooled by trailers before. They managed to make the Phantom Menace look good in a trailer. They managed to make the Rings of Power look good in a trailer, and that was an absolute dumpster fire. Actually, you know, the Rings of Power is probably a good comparison to make here, because the thing you have to remember is that when they take a beloved gaming franchise like the Fallout series and turn it into a TV show, or when they take a beloved literary franchise like the Lord of the Rings and turn it into a TV show, they're not doing it for the sake of the fans. Right? We are not the target audience at all. And the reason for that is a simple one of economics. We're a very limited audience. You know, they don't want, Rings of Power, perfect example. They don't want just the people who read the appendices to the Silmarillion to be the ones tuning in to watch the Rings of Power. Because that basically limits your audience to about 17 people. And yeah, that would be economic suicide for a TV show. So when they make these things, we are not the target audience. When they made shows like Star Trek Discovery, for example, they weren't trying to cater to people who loved the Next Generation or the original series. When they made the Star Wars prequels, they definitely weren't catering to fans of the original trilogy, because let's face it, when it comes to things like the original Star Wars trilogy, Star Trek The Next Generation, and in particular Star Trek the original series, these movies and TV shows are nearly, and in some cases more than 50 years old now. Most of that audience are dead. They've got no interest in making things for the fans. They want to attract a new audience. I mean, it makes perfect sense if you just stop and think about it. The problem is, who is that new audience? Because it's not Star Wars or Star Trek fans. It's an entirely new generation with entirely different sensibilities. And it's very difficult to please the existing fans while at the same time attracting that new audience, because how can I put this? I, and by extension many of the other existing fans of franchises like this, belong to a generation who were extremely surprised to discover that there were more than two pronouns. Now, if you're trying to do a show based on one of these franchises, and you're trying to cater to a new audience to ensure that the show has some kind of longevity to it, there's an excellent chance you're going to alienate the existing fan base. I mean, just look at the Star Wars sequels, or the Rings of Power TV show, which was an absolute dumpster fire. And this is why, I mean, I'm looking forward to the Fallout TV show. Like I said, it comes out on the 11th of April, and you'll be able to binge watch it, by the way. You know, every episode releases at once, so you won't have to wait a week between episodes. So you'll very, very quickly be able to form an opinion as to whether or not it's actually worth your time, because you can watch it all in one go. And I am optimistic, because like I said, the trailer, well, there's been more than one trailer, and they look okay. But it's easy to make something look good in a trailer. I mean, it is possible to reinvigorate a franchise, or create, in the case of the Fallout TV show, create something new, and have it not be a complete train wreck. I'm struggling to think of an example. How about the Wheels of Power TV? No, that was an absolute travesty as well. Come on, help me out here. There must be something. You can see why I'm a bit worried about this Fallout TV show, can't you? Oh, please let it be good. Or at least not completely terrible. I mean, I'm not asking for much. Just give us a show based on Fallout and have it not be completely shit. I mean, how hard can it be? Well, it can be quite hard. I mean, you know, it's a challenge. See, this is the thing that I don't understand. Because it's a challenge to make a good anything. You know, whether that be a game, a movie, or a TV show. Nobody really goes into these things saying, oh, let's just make it bad. Let's just put the minimum amount of effort in necessary in order to call it done, and then we'll just take the money and run. Well, unless you're making Skull and Bones. Or the day before. Okay, so sometimes people do approach a new creative project with the aim of delivering the lowest common denominator. Or, in the case of the day before, not delivering anything at all. But generally speaking, when creative people get together in order to make something new, they're trying to make it the best possible thing that they can. And of course, sometimes they fail because making something good is hard. I mean, you never know exactly what is going to and what is not going to work, but the thing that I don't get is that if you're hell-bent on creating something new, why attach it to an existing, and in many cases beloved franchise, if you're not going to pay respect to that franchise? You know, if you want to do something completely new and different, and explore new ideas, and go in a new direction, then do that. I mean, if you want to do a show about a happy, clappy, hippy, drippy space Jesus who's in touch with their feelings and spends half of every episode crying about how they feel to anybody who will listen, then do that. Just don't call it Star Trek Discovery. Call it happy, clappy, hippy, trippy space Jesus. I'm sure you'll find an audience for it, but it's not Star Trek. It's not what Star Trek has ever been about. By all means, if you have ideas along those lines and you think you can make a go of it, then sit down, write a script, get a bunch of creatives together, go to a studio and make your pitch. Of course, the problem is, nobody's going to fund you. Unless you can attach the Star Trek license to it, or the Star Wars license to it, or the Lord of the Rings license to it. And God help us, the Fallout license to it. See, this is what worries me, because I just want a show about Fallout. I'm not saying I don't care about anybody's feelings. I'm not saying I don't want, you know, moments of character introspection when they talk about how they feel. I mean, you know, character development is a good thing. I just don't want the whole show to be about it. Because that's not Fallout. I want to see people struggling to survive in a post-apocalyptic wilderness. I want to see ghouls. I want to see the Brotherhood of Steel. And, oh, wow, all of this is in the trailer, isn't it? In fact, you've got Walton Goggins as a ghoul gleefully taking hints of jet while blowing fist-sized holes in people's chests. You can kind of see why I remain cautiously optimistic about this whole thing. Even though I've been burned by trailers before, but I mean, it does look like it could be good. At the same time though, it pays to maintain a healthy dose of skepticism until you can actually watch this thing for yourself. But I just please let it not be completely crap. That's all I ask. I mean, I'm not asking for much. Of course, the other thing about the new Fallout TV show is there's going to be adverts on it, isn't there? We're going to have to watch advertising. Because that's the new thing, isn't it, with Amazon Prime Video. Which, by the way, is not a free service. You pay a subscription to watch Amazon Prime. You pay an annual subscription to get Amazon Prime, which, amongst other things, includes Amazon Prime Video. This is something that you pay for, and which Amazon have now just started running advertising on. Yep, you are now paying Jeff Bezos for the privilege of allowing him to run advertising on the stuff that you were already paying to watch. Wow. I mean, we're all outraged about it right now, because it's new. But give it 6 months, nobody will care, it will become standard, everybody will be doing it if they aren't already. Disney Plus, which by the way is losing money for Disney. Simple solution for that, by the way, just put good shows on. There you go, problem solved. But yep, Disney Plus will be doing it, Netflix will be doing it, Apple TV will be doing it, every other streaming service will be running advertising alongside the stuff that you're already paying them for the privilege of watching. It will become standard practice, Even taking action now and cancelling your subscriptions won't work, because they'll simply point to the dip in subscriber numbers to justify running the advertising. Look, we're losing revenue, we're losing subscribers. We need to support our shows with advertising. It's a no-win situation for us. We are unfortunately just going to have to shut up and learn to live with it. And on that bombshell, depressing though it was, I'm going to shut up, because that's it for this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles. Thank you for watching. Happy birthday to me. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, take care. And I'll catch you next time.